आज झारखंड मुक्ति मोर्चा हमारा जो रीजनल पार्टी है, राष्ट्रीय लोकतांत्रिक जो मोर्चा बना है, इसमें हम लोग विधिवत शामिल हो रहे हैं।
मैं प्रभात कुमार ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं श्रद्धापूर्वक झारखंड के राज्यपाल के पद का कार्यपालन करूंगा।
झारखंड कर कोरा, झारखंड कर कोरा, नदी न लाटा काटू बन रे पतरा, भर लिखो पाकासी फूल तींदा समय झूला झूल रेलो, भर लिखो पाकासी फूल तींदा समय झूला झूल रेलो, भर लिखो पाकासी फूल तींदा समय।
Did you know Jharkhand has been through 7 chief ministers and 3 presidents' rule in just 24 years? From unfulfilled promises to endless internal power struggles, political instability has held Jharkhand back, even with its rich resources. Imagine a state with so much potential, yet constantly entangled in corruption and failed governance. So, what's really going on behind the scenes? Is Jharkhand's political turmoil a symptom of deeper conflicts within its own leadership? Over the next few minutes, we'll discuss what was promised, what's actually been delivered, and most importantly, why Jharkhand needs a fresh start with an alternative leadership. So let's get started. Promises were made, hopes were built, and yet 4 years later, the results remain disappointing. And not just one broken promise here or there, we're looking at an extensive list of promises that have stayed on paper with no benefit to Jharkhand citizens. Let's start with one of the biggest claims, jobs. In 2019, the JMM promised 5 lakh government jobs within the first 2 years. Fast forward to today, and what do we have? Only 11,074 jobs have been created, barely scratching 10% of the promise. And while the government talks about another 59,000 jobs being in pipeline, Jharkhand's youth are left in the lurch, with many forced to migrate to other states just to make ends meet. Imagine the frustration of young graduates hearing promises of stability only to be met with silence. And here's another blow to the unemployed. There was supposed to be a monthly allowance for jobless youth, that is Rs 5,000 for graduates and 7,000 for postgraduates. Initially, the scheme was launched as Mukhyamantri Protsahan Yojana, but later rebranded to Mukhyamantri Sarthi Yojana, offering drastically lower amounts from 1,000 to 1,500 rupees. Even so, this scheme is yet to be implemented. Not only did they fail to deliver on job creation, but the support allowance remains a distant dream. The Mukhyamantri Maya Samman Yojana, formerly Mukhyamantri Behan Beti Swavalamban Yojana, approved by the Jharkhand cabinet in June 2024, promised Rs 1,000 per month for cooking expenses to poor women aged 21 to 50. Despite its launch in July 2024, no beneficiaries have received assistance under the scheme. This lack of implementation highlights a concerning gap between promises and delivery, suggesting that the scheme announced just before elections may have been more about gaining women voters than providing meaningful assistance. The failure to fulfill this pledge underscores the need for accountability in programs meant to uplift disadvantaged women. It doesn't end there. The promise to guarantee an annual sum of Rs 72,000 to all poor families in Jharkhand remains unfulfilled, sparking widespread frustration. Critics accuse the JMM-led government of exploiting the hopes of vulnerable communities for electoral gains, only to neglect its commitments once in power. By failing to deliver this financial assistance, which over 5 years will amount to approximately 7,25,100 rupees per family, the administration has been accused of breaking trust and overlooking the basic needs of those most in need. This unmet pledge symbolizes unfulfilled political promises, deepening hardships for the poor. The lack of adequate cold storage facilities in Jharkhand under the current JMM INC government has exacerbated challenges faced by the farmers. Despite there being 264 block headquarters, the state has only 58 operational cold storage units, far below the required number. This shortfall has forced many farmers to sell their produce at lower prices due to the inability to store perishable goods, leading to distressed sales and worsening the economic conditions. This absence of sufficient storage infrastructure has left many in agriculture struggling with poor returns, deepening their hardships under the JMM INC government's tenure. In December 2023, the Jharkhand government announced an additional bonus of Rs 117 per quintal of paddy over the centre's MSP for kharif procurement and a 60 rupees bonus for millers processing rice from a state-sponsored scheme. Despite these promises, no such bonuses have been materialized, leaving Jharkhand's farmers feeling let down. The central government's MSP for kharif is Rs 2300 per quintal for common paddy and 2320 rupees for grade A paddy. Yet in practice, the farmers received no extra support and were left disappointed by unfulfilled commitments. The lack of delivery has deepened frustrations, reflecting a gap between assurances and tangible support to the agriculture community. In Jharkhand, only 13.5% of the net sown area has access to irrigation due to poor development and maintenance of irrigation infrastructure. As a result, around 5 lakh hectares of farmland remain entirely rain-fed, leaving farmers highly vulnerable during droughts. Despite 17 out of 24 districts experiencing drought, the JMM-led government has been criticized for inaction, failing to address the irrigation crisis. This neglect has intensified the hardships faced by the farmers, who are left struggling with inadequate water supply and limited means to sustain their crops during the dry spells. Jharkhand's healthcare infrastructure faces significant challenges, reflected by its total nurse capacity of just 5,872 and a medical shortage of 52% or more across 17 out of 24 districts, placing them in a critical orange zone. The state also has one of the poorest doctor to population ratios in India at 1 to 6,073 compared to the national average of 1 to 834, highlighting an acute shortages of medical professionals. Consequently, hospitals often lack basic medicines and a state of despair, leaving citizens to endure inadequate healthcare services and considerable sufferings due to the systematic neglect and insufficient resources. The Vidva Punarviva Protsahan Yojana or Widow Remarriage Incentive Scheme was announced on March 6, 2024 by the JMM-led government. This scheme promised a Rs 2 lakh incentive to widows choosing to remarry. However, there appears to be no available data reflecting the scheme's implementation, raising concerns over whether it was ever effectively rolled out. This lack of follow-through has led to accusations of neglecting women's dignity and respect. As a result, many women feel their challenges and needs are not being taken seriously, fueling a growing demand for accountability and meaningful support from the government. The Santhal Pargana division, historically significant for its tribal population, has witnessed a sharp decline in the proportion of tribals from 44% in 1951 to 28% in 2011, a decrease of 16%. This demographic change has been attributed to factors such as migration and religious conversion, as well as broader influences including infiltrations. Despite legal safeguards like Santhal Pargana Tenancy Act, which seeks to protect tribal land rights, allegations have surfaced that the state government is complicit in its violation. Reports suggest that the land brokers, often with fake documents, are illegally transferring tribal lands to outsiders and infiltrators, undermining the state's intent and threatening the cultural and territorial integrity of Santhal tribes. After all these failed promises and neglect, the question remains why? Why does the JMM-led government and its India alliance partners continue to fall short on so many issues? The answer, perhaps, lies in the history of the India alliance itself. Across states from Karnataka to Himachal Pradesh, the alliance has a history of making grand promises only to leave people disillusioned and disappointed. So, where do we go from here? It's time Jharkhand looked beyond empty promises and partisan politics. Jharkhand needs leadership that genuinely understands and prioritizes the people's needs. Leaders who don't just speak about change but make it happen. Imagine a Jharkhand where farmers have reliable cold storage, where youth have a real job opportunities, where women have received genuine support, and where healthcare isn't just a promise but a reality. This is possible, but it requires a shift in leadership, a move towards a government that values its people above politics. Thank you for tuning in. If this message resonates with you, share it, talk about it, and let's build a Jharkhand that truly serves its people. Until next time, remember, change is possible but only if you demand it.